What's up, everybody? Jensen Cummings here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Today is Best Served Podcast 168, Family Barbecues. We're talking with Dominique Leach of Lexington Betty out of Chicago, Illinois. Excited. This episode of Best Served Hot, right, where we focus on hot food trends, unique foods, emerging cuisines. We're going to talk Chicago barbecue. I'm really pumped about that. Dominique Leach is the owner of Lexington Betty, as I mentioned, in Chicago, Illinois, with 3 locations. We'll also touch on multi-unit. You know, I'm super fascinated in that. She's got guests in the house. I love it. Great to see you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Tell everybody, Lexington Betty, what can they expect from you?
Wow. You know, Lexington Betty is my interpretation of Chicago style barbecue. It is a mixture of how not only myself, but my family likes to eat. And so our style is very much so like Memphis meets North Carolina. It's a must try. Our sauce, it really reminds you of the Chicago style mild sauce that we all love so much. But it's very much so a barbecue sauce and everyone loves it.
Oh, I like it. I like how you're bringing together the sweet, the vinegar, right, of those classic sauces. You're connecting it to Chicago and the family. That checks all the boxes for me. That's literally how you build brand. That's all of the things. I love it. All right. So before we get into that, let's go back. And maybe it starts with family barbecues, but we always like to know, when did you first catch the hospitality bug? When did you get in this crazy industry?
Well, my very first industry job was at an Italian ice stand. As a kid, that was my first taste of the industry. I mean, long lines, hot days. I mean, I was like, I love this, you know? And so my actual real industry job, my first line cook job was at the Renaissance Hotel. I went straight out of culinary school. I got some experience prior to then, but that was the first job where I was like, put to the test. It's time to put everything that you learned into play. And it was the beginning of the honing of a chef.
Did you know instantly? I mean, it sounds like from the energy, but did you know instantly, like you found your tribe? Like, these are my crazy Island of Misfit Toys people. Like,
not when I was in culinary school. As a matter of fact, a couple chefs, you know, I just wasn't getting it at first. And a couple chefs said, well, you know, maybe this isn't going to be your thing. And I just, you know, I stuck with it. And I got really just shredded by one of my favorite chefs, Chef Alex Deering, who was the international chef over at the culinary school I went to. And I tortured a bearnaise sauce that I had never made, and it broke. And he said my fish cakes and bearnaise sauce was something you'll eat from a truck stop. So, but that's what I needed to hear, because after that, I picked the hardest or, you know, most detailed dishes to make every day, just to prove myself to him. And years later, I just end up proving it to myself, you know? Only 2 years after that, he was like yelling at the class. I took him again right before I graduated from culinary school. By that time, he was an instructor of one of the graduating classes. Right. And he was like yelling at the class for something. I think the cooler was terrible or something like that. And he kind of walked past me and like pat me on the back, like just to let me know I'm not talking to you. And I knew that I had proved to him in that moment.
Oh, I like this. So you need the challenge. You will absolutely challenge accepted. It's going to make a lot of sense as you're trying to kind of navigate a new style of cuisine, a new style of barbecue food, a new style of Chicago. So this is making a lot of sense to me. Family barbecues. Talk about that dynamic. Why is that so important? Why, especially as a chef, how does that like set the tone for who you are and the way that you interact with food, but more importantly, as we know, like the way that you interact with people?
Absolutely. Well, you know, when we get together for holidays, we're eating exactly what we're serving here at Lexington Betty. We're going to have greens. We're going to have candy yams. My Aunt Connie's potato salad. I've never had a barbecue without this potato salad. And so we had to serve it here at Lexington Betty Smokehouse.
I love it. Tell me about here's the thing. Some people get very like, I like this type of potato salad or that type. if they're done well, I like all types. You can give me the red potatoes, you can give me the picnic, you can go heavy mustard, deviled egg. Like I'm into all of them if they're done well. So now I'm getting selfish. Tell me about the potato salad.
So this potato salad is like a Southern deviled egg style potato salad. I guarantee you it's like nothing else you've ever had. It's so unique. It's tangy. It's so delicious. It's so bright and people love it. It's become like a delicatessen around here.
Does Auntie get royalties or how does that go?
Well, I wish she was making it for me. We're making so much of it now. But she's just happy that her name's up on the menu. As happy as my grandmother is to have her name in the title of the restaurant.
And that's literally what's going to be my next question. So Lexington Betty is your grandmother. Talk about that. Why was that important?
Well, when I left my last job at the Four Seasons Hotel here in Chicago, I was establishing myself as a catering company. And so the company is still called Cater to You Events and Drop-Offs. And so I was starting to get some attention and I wanted to really be able to be consistent and not turn clientele away. Sure. So I said, I need to find a way to control my time. And so I bought a small vending truck and I said, well, let me come up with a concept for the truck so that I can make money off of it every day, And so I knew it had to be, well, first of all, let's start with the concept. I've written this concept down 3 times before I did it. I mean, over a span of probably 10 years, just like doodling down, and it's always been the same meats. It started off with just like barbecue restaurant style sides, like baked beans, macaroni, cornbread. And so one day I looked at my catering soul food menu and I had been doing so much barbecue and I said, let me just combine the two. And so I came up with the concept smoked meats with soul food sides. And the vending truck I got in June of 2017. It was unfortunately short-lived because in October that same year, it was set on fire by a cocktail bomb.
Oh, man.
Yes, yeah. And in that moment when I found the truck torched, the only thing that survived the fire was my bio that I had just gotten as a gift because I did the music media summit here in Chicago. And when I seen that bio was like, it wasn't touched, I still have it. I just knew it was a sign. I said, whoever did this is not going to make a difference. I woke up the next day and I responded to emails. I followed up on phone calls. And I've been every bit of determined and optimistic that I would get out of that situation. And here we are today. The food truck was replaced the following year in March. We now have big trucks for large caterings and 3 restaurant storefronts now.
This is strange to say, but it very much feels like whatever a-hole lit that truck on fire did you a favor in Absolutely. A weird backwards kind of way, because again, challenge accepted. You were motivated by the adversity. Nobody is going to slow me down. And so you accelerated. Who knows? You might still be on that truck if that vending truck that had happened. So well, I'm fascinated in that. And then you go into brick and mortar, right? And you make that transition. I think there's a lot of people, and especially in our audience, this has come up a lot, going from a food truck, trailer, roadside stand, anything like that, lower overhead, lower exposure to brick and mortar is a big jump. All of a sudden you're in a 5, 10, 30-year lease. Like the dynamics change quite a bit. What was the catalyst? What was the moment you said, we're going to brick and mortar?
Well, someone recommended me for the WGN Midday News. And so they called me up and invited me on to do a segment. By this time, we had grown a lot, doing catering and food pop-ups around the city. We were doing 3 pop-ups a day, as well as independent catering. And so WGN called. They were confused about the concept because, we were doing so much business, they figured we had a storefront. And so I went on there and explained to people that we weren't open to the public. By this time, I did have my own kitchen, and the kitchen happened to have a storefront. But I just needed my own kitchen so that I can do production for the food truck and for catering. But after WGN, there was a line of people outside of the restaurant to eat. And I said, oh my God, I didn't do a great job of explaining to them that we're only open every first Sunday to the public. And so I literally served those people whatever I brought back from the studio with me. We also had an event going on at the time for $2.70. So any food that came back, I literally served everyone in that line greens and rib tips, because even though I tried to explain to them we're not open, there are rib tips being cooked and they can smell them. So so everybody waited about 10 minutes and we just got them all fed. I took pictures, I signed autographs, and the phone was ringing. And I said, you know what? We're going to have to open. Everybody wanted to know, why aren't you open? And so I, shortly after that, I went ahead and opened on September 5th. And it was
Dominique, I love this story. It's an interesting thing. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own creativity, we don't say, is there a demand in the market for the thing that we're going to create and passionate about? And the market forced you. You had no choice but to do what the market demanded. And so Chicago said, no, you're giving us rib tips and greens. Like, if you're cooking them, we're eating them. I love that so much. So I want to touch on a couple other things. I'm very interested in the food style. So what you're telling me is there's a little bit of Memphis, there's a little bit of North Carolina, which there's competition, right? People in Memphis and acolytes of Memphis say Memphis is the best, or Kansas City, or Texas, or North Carolina. So to combine them, you know, sometimes in the barbecue world, they can be like, no. Either you're one or the other. You can't be both, right? You're talking about soul food and combining that. That has a very different ethos potentially and audience. And then you're also bringing in Chicago. So at its face, it seems like it's complicated. Yet everything you're telling me seems very natural and simple. It's just the way we eat. It's my personal experience, and it's my personal taste and my family. So talk about that. Why is this style of food so important to you?
You know, it's so important because one of the things that I've learned about this industry, I always tell people I was raised in this industry. But one of the things I learned is that different stands out, you know, and I didn't want to be like any other barbecue restaurant. And so this is my style. It's completely my concept. You know, it's from the heart. And I worked at Spiaggia. I come from a I've been taught French technique, but a lot of Italian food from Spiaggia and even the Four Seasons. And so I do a lot of, my style is pretty rustic, some great presentations. And it was just, I was reading an Italian menu one day, and there was a neck bone sauce on the menu. And I said, neck bones? I didn't know that Italians ate neck bones. Like we eat neck bones at home, pretty often. And so I said, it's attractive to put something that might be unfamiliar to other people on your menu. And so I said I wanted to introduce people to what is now my style of barbecue. And so that I just wrote that out. I felt strong that, my concept was unique. And it's just literally like when I sit down and eat at home, this is how I cook. And so I knew that alone was worth, introducing to the world. I enjoy it, my family enjoy it, so why wouldn't other people enjoy it? And they like it. They like it a lot.
I absolutely love it. Let's talk about some of the dishes, because even some of the things you're mentioning, rib tips, the greens, and those things, they have very iconic recipes built around them. It seems like you're trying to break all of that, which I love.
All boundaries.
I absolutely love it. So let's talk about your recipes, because somebody's like, oh, greens, they go instantly like, okay, are they using ham hocks? And then is it tons of apple cider vinegar? Like, what is that process? So talk to us about a couple dishes. What are a couple of dishes that stand out for you, but moreover, that are super unique, that people that know it go, ooh, I love this, I feel it, but it's very different than what I expected? What are a couple of those dishes?
Well, I mentioned, we talked about the potato salad. It's, it's very different from I've never had potato salad like this anywhere. She's been making it since I was an infant, or before I was on this planet. And it's just really phenomenal. It's so unique, and it sets us apart from other potato salads. Not only that, but the greens, we make a turkey stock in-house from our smoked turkey that we smoke in-house. And that shredded turkey ends up in the greens, so the flavor is just phenomenal. The macaroni and cheese has
hold on, let's the greens. Now I'm like, okay, turkey instead of pork, right? Because it's so classically pork. If it's bacon, if it's belly, if it's hocks, as I mentioned, What kind of greens are you doing? Mustard, collards, combination?
Yeah, well, the menu says collards, but I've pulled away from just collards, and I'll mix it up and do mustard and turnip, and people really love it. That's how my grandmother usually makes it. She doesn't make collards a lot, but actually she sent me some greens yesterday, and they were mustard and turnip.
Perfect.
And I just, when I was serving off of the truck, so many people wanted greens, but so many people wanted them without pork. So I used to make them with ham hocks, but I changed to turkey just because, it's my job to know my people,
Yes.
So we do smoked turkey now, and I like to think of it as the sides is like more refined soul food. We some places have a reputation of, or soul food has a reputation of being a little heavy after you eat.
Yeah.
And I didn't want people to leave feeling that way. I wanted people to feel like they enjoyed the food and not that they couldn't walk out, and feel comfortable.
I feel you. What's one more dish? I think you were saying mac.
Yeah, our mac and cheese. I love our mac and cheese. It's and these are all my recipes. But I had to pay homage to my grandmother, who's from Lexington, Mississippi. So, who better to give homage to? We got our Southern cuisine experience from her, And so the macaroni is a 5-cheese macaroni. We put some smoked Gouda in it, cheddar, jack. We make a cheese sauce for it. So jack, cheddar, Gouda, the cheese sauce, and American cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great. People love it. I love it. But my favorite side is actually our brisket baked beans. They are just so good. They are just so good. Just smoky, sweet beans. They're so rich and delicious. I love them.
I love them too, and I haven't had them. I'm like, this potato salad is warranting a trip. Like this is exactly the style of food that I like to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like is everything that I hear from you. You mentioned balance, and I think that's super important. It's like I hear fat, I hear acid, right? Lots of salt. I'm hearing all those things, tons of bark, like these things that I think are super important to have the complexity, because sometimes you do go to Southern food, as you mentioned, or you go to barbecue, and there's a lot of one note.
Absolutely.
Right. It becomes very, very one note. And so I really like that you're kind of ebbing and flowing, taking people on peaks and valleys. I think is super, super important. Let's talk about the flow. Somebody walks into Lexington Betty, fast casual, give me a vibe of like, I walk in, I order at the counter, like how am I getting this barbecue into my mouth?
Yes. Well, prior to the pandemic, we were doing a lot of mostly dining in over at the North Avenue store. I like to call that's like our family location.
Okay.
People come with their families. They invite friends over, push tables together, and we accommodate them. However, whatever they need, the answer is yes. And actually, I said that they were 3 brick and mortars. That's not correct. The first one is a brick and mortar, and the second 2 locations are both food halls. And
Gotcha.
so we're currently at 111 Food Hall, and they're finishing up a rush. But the environment here is wonderful. It's new to the community. The building's only been here for a little over a year. I've only been here since February. We have outdoor seating.
Nice.
No dining going on inside right now because people aren't completely comfortable with it. Yep. So we just want people to be comfortable. But the patio's getting a lot of love right now. And over at Dr. Murphy's Food Hall, there's plenty of indoor seating. We have every other table set up so that we can enforce social distancing. And there's a patio there. And so that patio's been getting packed because the weather's been really mild around here and people want to eat outside.
Are you smoking on site at the food halls?
No, I'm smoking. Actually, so the North Avenue location is acting as corporate right now.
Makes
sense.
So
it's also really important to me so early on, or for the longevity of this company, I want consistency. And someone said to me, I've eaten at all 3 of your restaurants. Someone said this yesterday. And the food tastes the same at every location. And that's exactly what it needs to be, because we need to be able to duplicate this. Yes. And put it in some other cities.
This is so smart. I've been throwing crazy ideas at people. I was like, the new restaurant is not going to be 3,500 square foot with everything on location, because we're the only industries where you're in two different businesses. You're in manufacturing and retail sales.
Yep.
And nobody, they put the shoe boutique in the downtown corridor. Nobody puts the shoe factory in the downtown corridor because the rent's too high. But we do that in restaurants, and we allocate a lot of space to the kitchen, which is amazing, but it doesn't actually produce $1 of revenue. So I love what you're saying, because then you can maximize your space for output and have a smaller space, which is less expensive, because the margin game is crazy. I'm a big believer in what you and I have to talk more about this offline, because that is a whole big thing that I think restaurants need to be thinking about. Is absolutely like being smart about your square footage.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have a Cadillac in every single kitchen. You can create that. How are you getting food to your locations? Do you have paneled vans? What are you doing?
Yep, we have some insulated vehicles. One, the food truck typically delivers food to 111, but today we have a food truck event on top of the 3 restaurants.
All right.
So I brought the we actually recently brought like just a little company car. It hasn't even been wrapped yet. We're gonna put the logo on it, and so our manager, who's coming back Tuesday, she's been off since the pandemic. She's gonna be driving that car and transporting the food to the south side. And we have a big cargo van now for Dr. Murphy's Food Hall. Oh my God! I mean, we've only been open since Monday there. It's been unbelievably busy. We're doing 100+ covers for lunch.
That is awesome to hear. I am so happy about that. This little section, we're going to clip this section here. Sophie's behind the scenes. We'll make sure, because what you're talking about, every restaurant, you have to listen. You have to listen to the way that you're managing your brand, the way that you're managing the consistency of the food, and the way that you're managing your footprint. Because again, the 3,500 square foot restaurant that, like, Spiaggia's and all these different restaurants were like the 3,500 to 5,000. That's like the chef-driven restaurant we came up in. Mm-hmm. And then our kitchens got bigger and bigger and bigger, which meant less butts and seats, which challenged the model significantly. So I'm a big buyer in what you're talking about. 3 locations now in 10 months, 11 months.
10 months.
Okay. Challenge accepted again. I'm not surprised at all. Yet, wow, doing that. Talk about that. There's a lot of people that are in a position where they have the food truck, they have the incubator, one location, small little like unit at a food hall, and they're looking to expand. The second location is always the hardest, but talk about going to 3 locations. Why was that important? How were you able to do that?
But I gave myself a short-term goal of 5 locations. And, a lot of this is like manifestation, I've just like, I put my head down and I'm working, I visit every location, probably every day. And I make sure that the staff is being consistent, and not only consistent with the product, but also consistent with service, because people go to a restaurant for the first time for good service, and the second time they go for good food. And the food's easy because I make it and I know it's good. And so I need to make sure that the service is, coming across as warm and helpful.
Like a family barbecue.
Absolutely. And so, my theory is the answer is yes. What's the question when it comes to the customers?
Oh, that's a soundbite right there. That is good. I absolutely love that. The style of food that you're doing, I think, is super unique, and I really like it. What's interesting is each of those things feels so familiar, yet when you put them together, it's very unique, and then you play those little twists that make it your own. Yes. That's literally what you do downstream to create a really thoughtful, smart brand. So I'm a big believer in that. Sauce. Let's talk about the sauce, because I mentioned this. I like the Kansas City style sweet sauce. Talk about a place that creates an environment. Gates Barbecue is one of my favorite places. The meat's pretty good. The sauce, amazing. The experience of going in and having the ladies yelling at you in line, say, "What you want?" And you're like, "I don't know." And they'll skip over you. And it's an amazing experience. I used to love bringing people there. So fun. Energy, the bravado. I love it. Yeah. And so I'm a big believer in that, and Kansas City style sauce, which is a little sweeter molasses. Then you mentioned the heavy vinegar sauces, even sometimes mustard based. When you're talking about Carolina, I like to put both on the plate a lot. You skipped a step and got them both in the same bottle. So talk about that. Talk about your sauce as kind of a unifier of your whole message, really.
So when I came up with the recipe for the sauce, I said, the mild sauce here in Chicago, people go crazy over it. I mean, people that I speak with that used to live in Chicago, if I'm coming to visit, they're like, can you please bring me like fries with mild sauce, or like just something with some mild sauce on it, And so I said, this will excite people for the sauce to be, for it to be relatable to them,
Yes.
And so I just combined what my palate was looking for, and said, that's how I came up with the recipe to taste. And I just kept duplicating it until I got the recipe. And oh my God, people are so receptive to it. We're currently working on getting it bottled right now.
Yeah, let's go. Dominique, I'm throwing down the challenge too. Let's go. I need this sauce.
Sure. Yeah, we actually a friend at Mariano's just sent me some information, because we were actually moving forward with one company, and it's a factory, and they haven't reopened since the pandemic hit, and so we had to go and search for some other avenues, and so we just recently found a company that's going to be producing it, and we're just waiting on samples of the sauce. They have the recipe, and they're also going to do the dry rub and what we call our TT seasoning that we put on all of our meats.
You just check the last box of every box you need to check to be an operator always, but especially moving forward. CPG, consumer packaged goods. You're going to hear me talking about this all the time. Every restaurant has to be a food brand as well. You have to create more revenue channels, and you have to bring your brand into people's homes, because you create brand ambassadors. You stay top of mind. They introduce it to their friend at their family barbecue. Yeah, CPG, you cannot not be in that game. And so once again, you're checking all the boxes. I am a big fan of what's going on. And Chicago just moved way up the list as the first place. I'm like, where's the first place I'm visiting as soon as like this stuff dies down? Chicago, you shot way up. So I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Yeah, come check us out. And actually, the mayor will be announcing us as her favorite restaurant, Mayor Lightfoot, here in Chicago.
Come on.
So one of the perks to that is we will be on Choose Chicago's website. And Choose Chicago is where a lot of people from out of town go to plan their trips in Chicago. So I'm like, wow, I'm just realizing that we will become a place that people from out of town want to come in town to try, because she's given us this platform.
So now you're going to turn into a marketing juggernaut as well. It makes total sense to me. I will make sure Sophie will get that linked up. Choose Chicago. We'll get that into the comments so you guys can check that out. Highly recommend Chicago. Big fan of Chicago from trips there, but moreover, recently, so many great people. Debbie Gold there has done an amazing stuff. DeAndre Carter, the Trotter Project, Janet Isabelli from PR. We've been talking to a lot of people in Chicago. Ryan McCaskey at 2 Michelin Star Arcadia. Like, we've had a lot of conversations. Chicago is crushing it.
Chicago is the food capital of the world, as far as I'm concerned.
It's got hard to debate that. And honestly, the food, always amazing. The people, I've been really impressed with the people. The best people make the best food. That's it.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Dominique, I really appreciate you being on. You got to get back to work. I hear people in the background there. I love the fact that you're out there getting to do what you love and connecting it with Chicago. I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so great meeting you.
All right. Take care. Have a great day. Cheers.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Lexington Betty, Dominique Leach, powerhouse. Absolutely. And I love just making it your own. It's super important on that. You can pull from a lot of different iconic styles of food if you're doing it through the heart, through the family, through your own experience. I think it's a really thoughtful way. You see concepts sometimes that are mashing the hell out of a bunch of things because they want to be on the taco train, they want to be on the burger train, they want the pizza. Like, you're just trying to capitalize on hype trains of what sells versus really curating something. You might sell a bunch of those items in the short term. In the long term, you just won't survive because it does not continue to resonate with people. So I think that's super important. Best Served Podcast 168, Family Barbecues with Dominique Leach of Lexington Betty in Chicago, Illinois. Once again, Best Served Hot. Fire, absolute fire. I'm excited about this channel as, hot food trends, unique foods, emerging cuisines. yet it's always the people. Once again, we're talking barbecue. We're talking about unique approach to greens and mac and cheese and potato salad and all of those elements that I think are super important. The sauce, combining Carolina and Memphis. Yet once again, the reason that I'm going is because of Dominique, right? The reason that you go and come back again and again and again is because of the humans. It always is. So, all right, that is it for today. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.